The morning of March 20th at Royal Air Force Station Fairford did not begin with the usual quiet of the English countryside. Instead, the air was shattered by the collective roar of 8 Pratt & Whitney TF-33 engines. This was the sound of the B-52H Stratofortress, a titan of the skies, preparing for a mission that would alter the strategic landscape of the Middle East. The objective was uncompromising: destroy Iranian missile positions and ensure that nuclear ambitions remained a distant memory for those the world deemed a threat. On the flight line, the atmosphere was one of calculated intensity. Mechanics swarmed the massive aircraft, their hands moving over engine cowlings and turbine blades, searching for any microscopic flaw that could jeopardize the mission. Beneath the wings, MJ-1 jammer trucks maneuvered through the haze, delivering a lethal payload to the bomber's underbelly. The B-52H is a beast of burden, capable of carrying 70,000 pounds of fire and steel. For this operation, the choice of weaponry was specific: 2,000-pound Mark 84 general-purpose bombs and AGM-86C conventional air-launched cruise missiles designed to reach out and touch a target from over 600 miles away. Deep inside the bomber's fuselage lies its most sophisticated secret, the Common Strategic Rotary Launcher. It is a massive cylindrical drum, a revolving cylinder of destruction that holds up to 8 missiles or bombs. This mechanism allows the weapons officer to unleash a relentless sequence of strikes without the delay of cycling bomb bay doors between every drop. Every electrical connection and every locking mechanism was triple-checked. In the high-altitude silence of a combat run, there is no room for a mechanical stutter. While the machines were being perfected, the 5-man crew was undergoing their own transformation. In the crew room, pilots tested the seals of their oxygen masks, the hiss of the regulator the only sound in a room filled with heavy anticipation. They packed their bags with the essentials of a marathon flight: water, maps, and the checklists that would serve as their Bible for the next 9 hours. Inside the cockpit, the pilot and co-pilot settled into their side-by-side ejection seats, their world narrowing down to a wall of glowing instruments. Below them, on the lower deck, the navigator and the radar navigator took their places in a cramped, windowless environment. The navigator, essentially the aircraft's human GPS, was responsible for every second of the 4-hour and 30-minute journey to the target, constantly cross-referencing systems to ensure they didn't miss a single waypoint. Beside him, the radar navigator, the bombardier, stared into 4 screens simultaneously. His eyes were the ones that would eventually find the target, his fingers the ones that would command the release of the payload. The order was given. The B-52 taxied, a slow and heavy giant, until it lined up on the Fairford runway. With all 8 throttles pushed forward, the bomber accelerated, devouring almost the entire length of the concrete before its wings finally found the lift to carry its massive burden of fuel and ordnance into the sky. The mission profile was a masterclass in long-range power projection. 2 B-52s flew in formation, heading southeast across the Mediterranean. As they crossed into the target area, the radar navigator took full control of the weapons delivery system. On his screens, the coordinates matched. The bomb bay doors groaned open, and the rotary launcher began its deadly rotation. One after another, the bombs and missiles were cast into the void, tracking toward the Iranian missile bunkers with surgical precision. Once the payload was expended, the aircraft didn't simply turn for home. To maintain operational flexibility and as a calculated precaution, the mission plan called for a refueling stop at Sofia Airport in Bulgaria. Even though the B-52's massive fuel tanks could have carried it back to Britain, this stop was a message of logistical dominance. When the bombers finally touched down back at Fairford, their massive drag parachutes billowed out from the tail, a white silk signature of a successful mission. But the pressure was never meant to ease. Even as the first crews were decompressing, another B-52 was already over the Atlantic, having been launched from an American base to reinforce the strike operations. This was a continuous cycle of pressure. Hours into its transatlantic crossing, a KC-135 Stratotanker appeared on the radar, a flying gas station in the middle of a vast blue nothingness. The pilot of the B-52 held the massive bomber steady, moving within feet of the tanker's tail. The boom operator extended the refueling arm, connecting it to the receptacle on top of the B-52's fuselage. For several tense minutes, thousands of gallons of fuel flowed between the two aircraft at hundreds of miles per hour. Once full, the bomber dropped away, continuing its path toward the English coast to prepare for the next sortie. This was not just a series of flights, it was a demonstration of a global reach that knows no boundaries. In the silence that followed the engine shutdowns at Fairford, the message remained clear. When the Stratofortress flies, the world watches, and the geography of conflict is rewritten from the edge of space. The roar of the B-52 is the sound of a closing door, a door that shuts on the ambitions of those who underestimate the reach of a determined superpower.